Hello, good morning, and welcome to another video where we're going to do a bit of a tour and we're going to talk about some of our plans. Plans definitely change around here. We've had plans and we've executed some of them, but there's definitely been some small changes, also some big changes. So we thought we'd do a bit of a walk around today and talk a little bit about what we've done, but more so about the things that are coming in future, particularly for this year. We'll go around the land, we'll go to the veg garden, we'll show you some of the fruit trees, the vineyard, what we're doing in the house, and also some of our plans for the outbuildings. Now, we're not going to get to doing all of that work this year, but it's very much in mind in terms of the direction that we're going. Let's go for a walk around. And first of all, let's go and find Kylie. There she is, looking very pensive. But before we get to her over there, I thought I would show you some of these. We've got some vines down here at the kind of entranceway to the property, and amazingly they are starting to bud break already. It is the end of February and we're already starting to see new growth, which is very cool. The vines that we've got here at the entrance, or our back gate I guess, were in really bad condition last year, so we just kind of cut them all back to the main stem. We're trying to leave a few buds here and there, so we're just going to see what happens this year and then try and get them into a slightly more organized state for harvest next year. You're looking very thoughtful, my love.
I'm thinking about the bramble removal project, which I started last year, and I went from here to somewhere here.
And then you got bored.
It's a lot of work. But then I've just seen this fig tree is putting on some new growth, and he had a branch over there as well. So, and then we have another cherry tree here, which I don't think I knew was there last year because it was so covered, and it's still covered in brambles. So I'm thinking I need to find a weekend very soon to clear these brambles just from these two trees, and then to prune these back to see if we can revive them this year. Everywhere we look, there is
Projects everywhere.
so much to do. Anyway, so that's those two trees.
Yeah, one of the things that we spent a lot of time doing last year was just like clearing everything out and getting back so that we could see what's going on. So this area here, we call it the olive grove. We've got about 20 trees in total. Most of them are in this kind of area. There are a couple past that big tangerine tree, and there are a few more in the far corner of the property. But yeah, about 20 in total. We've also got a few like over the other side where we're living at the moment. And we had our first olive harvest last year, and that went pretty well. We got some tasty oil out of it. But again, these trees were not in great shape, so we had them pruned quite hard. I think we could actually have gone even harder. The neighbours certainly did. Slowly but surely over the next few years we're going to get these into shape and hopefully have really nice abundant olive harvest for years to come, which is kind of cool. But yeah, we're just kind of walking down the one of the boundaries of the property. We've got a neighbour's house just over here, and like I say, this is mostly olives in here, but we do have some vines down the side. These are in a terrible state, so I don't think we're going to be getting any grapes from these this year, but we will again try and cut back some of these brambles and see what happens. We've got another fig tree just here.
This one isn't in as good condition, and I think because this one is really being choked by the brambles.
Yeah.
The other one I'd taken half the brambles off, but it's still living. It definitely had figs on it last year, and then we recently learned that figs are really good to have near olives. So what is it, Guy?
The fig wasp.
The fig wasp
eats the olive fly.
Yeah, probably not this year. I'm not going to get to this tree, but maybe next year I'll come and rescue it and then propagate out some more figs and start putting little fig trees in between the olives to help with that, because we did have a lot of olive fly last year. 2 Neshbra, or loquat in English, and a very large chestnut tree. So big. We had a huge harvest last year, but that tree also needs a lot of love and probably some climbing to get up there. Yeah, that's not this year either. So this other massive tree is a pear tree, and it gave us some fruit last year, but it wasn't, number one, it's really high, so you can't actually harvest it, and the quality wasn't good. So at some point in the future, we might again give it a really, really hard prune and see if we can recover it. It's also shading out. There's a further 2 pear trees that have obviously just come from
I think
being...
there's 3 actually.
Oh yeah, there's another one way before. Anyway, there's a little cluster of pear trees. We just have to decide which ones to keep and which ones to remove or bring way back to see if we can make it smaller. Anyway, much tree maintenance to be done, not fishing.
So from the olive grove and the fig trees and the pear trees behind me, we come past a big olive tree here next to the well in the background, and then into this part of the land that we've actually been actively working on. So we've got a couple of areas that we're growing things in, and we are trying to keep it as clear as possible because we plan to expand the growing area this year.
So we're big advocates of the no-dig approach, but this is a dig experiment that we're doing with potatoes. So we used a walk-behind tractor, I think they're called, with a rotavator attachment to lightly plough this, dug some bits and threw some potatoes in. We have a whole video on that coming up. But yeah, this is a new part that we've just done recently, following what the locals do to see how it is, what we can learn.
Although interestingly, the locals do much closer spacing. So
yeah, they would have a whole one in here for, yeah.
So I guess we'll see who's right.
And they also don't water theirs. We've watered this a couple of times. We use our grey water to bring it down and to use it here. They have not been doing that to theirs at all. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Whoa. Can we see any water down there? I can see lots of apples.
It's very deep, so I can't really put a ladder down. And we want to clean all this off, but I still haven't worked out how to do that. It's
a big project.
Yeah. To be continued. So in the distance you'll see we have our no dig area. We have 5 beds, and come spring we need to plant a lot more, and those beds are mostly already full. So we're going to add, what do we say, 2 or 3 beds in this direction, running in the same orientation that they are. And then we're going to do a series in this direction, because this is south facing and we want the sun to run up the row rather than across the row, and that'll be for the taller crops like tomatoes and other vining type.
Cucumbers, peppers,
yeah, those things.
Those kinds of things.
And at some point we will move, we currently have our compost-based system just here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit rustic. It was an experiment to learn what we wanted from a compost-based system. And in the near future, let's say not too distant future, not this year, probably next year, once all these beds are built here, we have reserved a space between the end of these beds and the potato patch, and we will add a compost-based system there. And it will, and the reason we're leaving it till next year is we're also working on irrigation next year, and we'll have an irrigation hub, hopefully, there as well. So that is something we're definitely doing, the garden bed expansion this year, so we can grow more and learn more about the seasons here, because it's very different to the UK.
Continuing the topic of growing things, you may have noticed this in the background. This is my pickup truck, and it's currently full of lots of dead pine trees that were killed in a fire, the big fires of 2017. And we have a friend who has a huge forest area on their property, and they've just got these pine trees all over the floor, and they've done something very cool with them, which is turn them into raised beds. And so we've stolen that idea, and we've stolen some of their trees, and we're going to build a bunch of raised beds this year, not in this area, but a little bit further down past the veg garden at the end of this kind of trellis path. And we're going to be using that for small scale experiments, but also a herb garden, a medicinal garden, growing edible flowers and stuff like that. That is something to look forward to in the not too distant future. We've got garlic, we've got broad beans in the back, Lots of brassicas here, so we've got broccoli at the far end, and then there's one tiny cauliflower just here. Lots of cabbage. We've got some tobacco, which we're going to do a video on very soon because there's something interesting with that. A couple of lettuce, more kind of cabbagey things, some onions at the far end. I've got a whole load of onions to go in this bed very soon. Peas in this trellis at the front here, some more kind of cabbagey things. And then the far row is no dig potatoes.
So I'm going to start a raised bed here for medicinals and for some herbs and for some experiments that I want to do, particularly with regard to vole proofing. But another one that we're definitely doing is this lovely looking tree is a nectarine, but it, again, the fruit that it produces is really not very good. And we just cleared this land last year, and now all of a sudden the trunk of the tree has had a load of blind buds shoot. Let me show you. It's got all this new growth here. Now, they're not the best, but since all of this doesn't produce anything very good and we can't reach it again to harvest it, I'm thinking I'm just going to cap this tree off, and we're going to see if these guys in the years to come become a nice new nectarine tree for us, which would be awesome. And if it doesn't, we'll take it out and we'll put something else here. Last year we gave this lemon tree a really hard prune, and it has done exceptional. A pear tree there, another.
That's an apple behind the lemon.
That's an apple, not a pear. Behind the lemon, we planted a new lime tree. And there's a couple of others. A lot of tree maintenance.
But the big one is the thing in your hands, the oranges.
Yes, the oranges. I'm getting onto that. So we have 7 mature orange trees. This is a prime example. They are at least 60 years old, and we know that because we have photos from when the place was built, and know that they planted little saplings. One of the things I'm definitely going to do this year is give a couple of them really severe haircuts to bring them in a bit, because they are massive and they overproduce for what we need. But we're also doing more orange winemaking, and I'm going to try this year to do some orange essential oil. Again, many projects on our list.
And maybe make soap out of the oranges as well.
Not this year.
Oh, not this year.
Not this year. I think that needs to wait till we have a proper kitchen.
Maybe.
I don't have enough time for that. So this one that I just showed you was a navel. We have 3 navels. Tangelo, mandarin, bitter orange, and on the other side was a tangerine. 7 of those. We have 1 lemon. We have another lemon that we planted late
November last year.
And we have 2 limes, a normal lime and a kaffir lime. That's another peach and another apple. There are a lot of fruit trees. They all need a lot of love because they have not been pruned in
20 years.
Yeah, 15 to 20 years.
Yeah. This here is probably one of our newest additions to the garden. We've put some raspberries in. So we planted these from dormant canes. You can just about see some of the buds coming out here, which is kind of cool. So we've just got 4 of them. This is the beginning of our kind of berry area. And there's going to be a lot more of it on the other side of the wall. This is going to be the home to our grey water harvesting system, but it's very much a not even started project.
It's a wasteland.
It's a bit of a wasteland. As you can see, the weeds have taken over, but yeah, that's going to be there with a lot more berry bushes and stuff in the future. So we'll come back to the house a little bit later on, the house and the outbuildings. But as we come down the path here, I've got lots more orange to the side, and we have some vines that grow over this not very nice looking kind of trellisy arbor thing here. But we got some nice grapes from them last year, and we did try making wine out of them. Didn't really go so well, but we're putting in a lot more effort to learning about that stuff for future years. But yeah, we've given everything a really, really hard cut back just to try and encourage new growth in the right places for years to come. There's lots of rose bushes dotted around. Apparently this is because the pests and the bugs are attracted to the roses. They really like the flowers. And so it's designed as a deterrent to things like the other fruit trees or the grapevines in this case. So there's roses all over the property, which is kind of cool. We've had to remove some of them because they were in the wrong place, but most of them we have left. So we'll come back here to this big mess later on, but we'll just kind of finish up our tour of the land. Lots of wood for burning, lots of wood for processing.
We have many seeds.
Good. Next.
Planted in some soil. So, it's a cold frame we built last year. So the interesting thing about these seeds is we had this cold frame in the veg garden, and the winter here has been ridiculously warm, and we thought we'd fried some of our first tray of seeds. Now we follow Charles Dowding's approach to no dig, and we mistakenly
Listen to
the way that he gardens, which is appropriate for the UK, which is where we came from. But he always says you don't need to water your trays while you're germinating. That is not the case here in Portugal. I put these in here a week and a half ago, I think, and I've just been watering them almost like every second or third day. And now this first tray, which is now 4 weeks old, has started to germinate. This tray, which we just sowed last week, has also started to germinate. This is not for you. So this was my latest little project. This area, where you can kind of see that the earth is all brown, was totally choked in brambles. So I spent a day clearing that out. And then we had a bit of a prune off. These are Guy's 2 trees that he has pruned. He's the very much let's take it all off approach. My approach, slightly more sympathetic, I like to think, is just a small haircut this year, and then we'll see. This is actually a backup tree in case this doesn't work or these don't work. This is a little bit too close to our outbuildings. Not so much of an issue this year, but in the future it will be too close. This was really thick and heavy, so we took out a couple. And another one somewhere here we also took out, and maybe we pulled it up already. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch whose pruning technique is most successful, not just in the short term but in the long term as well, like which builds a better tree to go like this or to go like this in stages. So
I'm starting to think that I like your approach better.
Stay tuned for that. It's certainly going to look prettier this year because there's actually green coming out already.
I know, it's amazing.
Yours, well...
Yeah, it's a stump. All right, I get it.
Maybe there's a tiny bit there. Or is that just one that you forgot to cut off?
I missed that one, yeah. Let's go this way.
Careful, brambles.
Yeah, there's brambles everywhere. So this is a part of the property that we used to call no man's land because it was just like completely crazy and overgrown. But last year we did clear it out a little bit, and we even managed to come in and harvest and prune some of the olive trees. So this one here, there's also a couple on the other boundary. But this is like the back of our outbuildings. They're just on the other side here. That's the neighbour's dog, not our dog. They're very, very loud, slightly obnoxious.
But they're beautiful.
But they are beautiful, beautiful Ceredistrella dogs. So yeah, we still need to clear this little bit back here. The outbuildings is definitely a big future project. I mean, it's almost as big as the house renovation that we've been doing for the last 18 months, but completely different. And so this is our boundary here. Nice stone wall. Some more vines, some oak trees. I think there's another pear tree out the back. We've got a Neshbra tree here.
It's starting to fruit already.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
The growing season here is crazy.
Well, these blossom in the autumn, and then they are an early fruit, which is kind of cool. Look at that. Nice.
So Guy mentioned our outbuildings. So when we bought this property, those buildings are not registered, so they're not technically legal. So our lawyer is currently helping us to get those legalized and registered. We had documentation through the other day to say that they've done the valuation, and now it's some grace period you have to wait, and then we pay some tax, and then we can actually develop those. They'll be on an urban plot, so you could apply to get a habitation license for it, but for us we won't be. But it's just really nice to know that we can reutilize those old buildings without having to knock them down.
But we've got a whole bunch of vines, some along the boundary, but then also dotted around through this area here. They're not like in proper rows, like a formal vineyard with trellising and stuff like that, but apparently this is quite a popular way of doing it here in Portugal. They're spaced out enough that there isn't any issues with like airflow and stuff like that, or them getting tangled together. We are planning, again, probably not this year, but maybe next year, to redevelop this whole area and really put a lot of effort into growing grapes so that we can make some better wine. In fact, I'm actually working on another secret project at the moment, which I will reveal at some point in the future, which is very much related to this and is going to give me a lot of knowledge and learning and experience with vineyarding and winemaking. I'll let you know about that when we have more details, but it's very, very exciting, at least for me, and for you if you like watching videos about people making stuff. But yeah, this is the vineyard area. Again, lots more clearing to do here, lots more pruning to do here, but you know, slowly we will get there.
We're going to go back to the house in a minute and talk about the house. But this is the rubble pile from, I guess, all the rip out that we've done of concrete, old lime, etc. I have a crazy idea that I'm very soon going to do an experiment with to reuse some of this in some new walls. It feels like it's going to work in my head, and Guy's not convinced, but
Not yet.
I will see if that works, because it would use up a lot of this. Don't look at the dishes or the laundry.
Now all they're doing is looking at the dishes in the laundry.
Real life, people, real life.
It is real life.
So
Here we go.
This is the house.
Oh right, okay.
We're going to head there in a second, but we thought we'd just show you. This is where we live. We currently have a room in the house that has a bed in it that we sleep in, but we live here. So the tent is set up with a wood burner. It's got a desk, it's got a dining table, it's got a bar.
Very important.
And we spend any time that we're not working and it's raining, whatever, that's where we spend it, or sitting here on the deck. This is Guy's zone. This is the cooking zone. I don't spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick look at the cooking zone. So we've got the kitchen here, which is a kitchen, but also, well, it's a shed that's also a kitchen, and it's got the solar equipment. We've got a fridge that was left here when we bought the place. Most of the stuff is stored in plastic boxes, like most of our ingredients and utensils and things like that are in these plastic boxes down here, but we've got a decent amount of space. We cooked some really nice food here. We'll try and show you some of the things that we cook over the course of future videos. We've got coffee machines, kettles, toasters, water, all the things that you need for comfortable life. So a lot of that happens in the shed, but then outside, I like to cook outside as much as possible, and the weather here is so good that we often do. We've got a nice little prep area out here. We were going to put a window in here, but
we'll still do it.
Over a year later, we still haven't done that. And then the barbecue, which has a gas burner on the side for some nice outdoor cooking. It's pretty good. And a herb garden down here. Very nice.
So, the objective for this year with regard to the house is to turn to turn the downstairs into some kind of habitable space by Christmas, ideally with a flushing toilet, ideally with hot water, though I'm thinking that's a stretch, and with some kind of heating. So the things that involves, there's a massive ongoing drainage project that we are hoping to finish in the next 2 weeks. We have everything bar one thing on site, which is arriving next week. That should then get done. I've already put a new water feed in. That just needs to be connected up inside. And then it's going to be probably a couple of months of digging out the ground floor, the rest of the ground floor, and putting in a limecrete floor across the entire ground floor, so that we can that'll have insulation in it, but it will also house the underfloor heating.
Eventually.
Eventually there will be new doors and windows that I have to make, so I have to learn how to do that first. And a bit more services, some more plumbing. We will also move the solar. The solar that's in the shed at the moment will move into here. The panels will stay out so that we can actually have electricity for an air source heat pump for our wonderful heating. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of big projects. Like, as I said, months of digging and laying limecrete floors. This project, I think we started in September, and maybe we're going to finish it in a couple of weeks, so March. And people ask us sometimes why the progress is so slow. And I would say a couple of things. There's two of us. It's really physical work, and we have all of this land and drinking to fit in. It's just a big project, you know, with two people. And I know my body is certainly getting older, and I mean, I want to be going at it like a 25-year-old, but my body won't let me anymore. So that has to, I can only do what my body will let me.
Yeah.
And then, once we've finished this in a few years' time, we have this to do. So the footprint of this collection of buildings is actually larger than the footprint of the house.
But it's only one story.
It's only one story, though we could take it up a little bit or dig down. So if you see how, if you follow me for a second, this is what we call the church, because of these lovely seashells. But the roof was at this height. Now, I'm only little, I'm only 5 foot whatever. But that's not really tall enough. And this is going to be my workshop, I think, eventually. And it's just not big enough. So we're going to have to dig this down. This one will not be doing by hand. There's a lot of rock in here. But we'll also be leveling the outside, taking it all down. So it's going to be a big piece of work. We will probably, the room in the corner there is actually a really nice stone wall. So we're going to try and keep that. But all of this, we're going to take out completely, take it down, and then we can build it. And I'm hoping we can fit like a mezzanine level in for storage and stuff. But this will be my workshop. This middle section that was animal housing before will get redeployed into storage. The room in the corner, which has this amazing bread oven, will become a processing kitchen for us, so for the harvests and for winemaking. And then this section here, which is currently our kind of dumping ground for tools and my wood collection, will become an outdoor kitchen. So we'll do it kind of pergola style. And maybe I'd really like to see if we can put a roof terrace on the top of it. And this section here will also get lowered down to be like an outdoor, uncovered area with some raised beds around the edges. Grand plans, not this year.
We like to show, not just tell around here, so that you can see what's going on. And of course, a lot of it looks like a freaking disaster, but some of it, at least, is interesting to look at. This is what we call the bakehouse. Lovely sun streaming in through the non-existent roof. We're using this for a lot of storage of things at the moment. Scaffolding, generator, fuel for the generator, some winemaking stuff, some other scaffolding bits out there. So this is all going to be turned into the processing kitchen with lots of stainless steel units, worktops, shelving, everything movable, so that we can, when we need to do a whole load of winemaking stuff, we can wheel in the winemaking kit. When we want to do a whole load of canning stuff, we can get rid of the wine stuff and, you know, have space to do whatever we need. So this, again, not this year, but a future project which we're very excited about, and then that will all very bright, too bright. Come on. And then that will all be connected to the outdoor kitchen space here, kitchen dining, and all of that. But let's take a look inside, and you can kind of see what we're working with.
I built a shed.
A small, tiny shed.
Small, tiny shed. In my small, tiny shed is a little DIY manifold for the water feeds. So this is the water feed that was connected to the meter. but we want to continue to use it while we're renovating. But then I want to put in a new feed, which is going to go into the downstairs. Eventually, this one will get taken out, and we'll replace it with a feed for the outbuildings. But I had to make a little, let's call it a DIY manifold. But the sun is so fierce here that if we had left that just exposed to the sun, the UV would have killed the fittings. So I built a little shed to protect it. Oh yeah. Can't wait till the stitch is finished.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Let's see if
Don't
we
look
can...
at this mess.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something very exciting. This is a door we recently had to angle grind. But this is the exciting thing. This is a pallet of NHL5, which is for some remedial work. We have to do some footings, but also for the Lime Creek floor that's going to go across these 3 large partitions of the downstairs of the house. Unfortunately, this is not going to be enough. I've calculated we need at least 1 more pallet, and maybe even 1 more after that. But now I know where to get it from. And a very nice man drove up just to this door, and we were able to just pass it in.
So we're downstairs in the house, and this room is going to eventually be a lounge. We've got some plumbing work to do here. This is temporary. Through where we came in, through here, this will be the kitchen. There'll be like an island in the middle somewhere, units around the outside, a sink, a fridge, that kind of thing. And then there'll be like a dining area here. I kind of like the idea of knocking out some of these nooks in the walls, or maybe just putting some lighting or candles or something in them to bring a little bit more natural light in. But yeah, that's what the downstairs of our house currently looks like.
There's 2 doors in both of the rooms. Currently the one that's in this room that's going to be the kitchen is actually concreted in from the outside, so we're going to have to cut that out. But we have 2 matching doors, and what I'm going to do is make 2 farmhouse style doors where the top opens, so it can
like
be
a stable door.
Like a stable door, so that it can be a window in the top, but it can also be a door. We would never use the kitchen one as a door because we're going to have units in front of it, but the lounge one is really good for delivery, so I'm going to see if there's some way that we can arrange the lounge such that we can have access to the door, but mostly it will operate as a window.
Okay, so there we go. That's a whole bunch of things that we're doing on the farm here this year, and also into the future as well. It's a big project, as you might be able to sense, and hopefully having a bit of a walk around and seeing almost all 4 corners of the place has helped give you a bit of perspective, a bit of an idea of how things connect and what we're doing in all the different areas. Oh, this is one that we forgot to tell you about something. Before we wrap this up, let me talk about what's going to happen here. We're going to be getting chickens very soon, which is very exciting. It's going to feel like a proper farm, having some animals running around. And we've just been starting to have a look at where things are going to go, what's the general shape and size of it. But Kylie is taking a big lead on the design of the coop, the run, the enclosure, all that kind of stuff. So she can talk to you about that. Ah, hello.
If you just stand a little back, I can do the dimensions of the chickens.
Sure.
So from here to here to here and here
That's a big chicken coop.
will be our chicken enclosure.
So like a fence, right?
Yeah, the fenced area. So they will be free-ranging chickens. This small little piece here, which is 1.5 meters by 1, will be a little hen house. And then there'll also be another fence here, which will be totally enclosed over the top as well to stop aerial predators. I'm working on a design that allows for deep litter, external egg boxes, lots of ventilation, cover underneath, outside feeding of water and food with a rain barrel, and also some doors where eventually I want to be able to bring up a dockable chicken mobile so I can take the chickens elsewhere on the property. Not too much for the first hen house.
We don't do anything by halves, do we?
We're getting, I think, 4 birds and maybe a boy. The boy is up in the air yet.
Oh, is he?
Not up in there. So yeah, that will be. It's a big project for this year that we've been talking about for ever since we have been talking about moving to somewhere rural. So that'd be nice to have that one ticked off the list. And they're fun. Chickens are fun. They're beautiful.
Alrighty, so there we go. Now I think we are done. Just as a very quick recap, our main focus this year is getting the downstairs of the house habitable so that we can move in to more than just a tiny bedroom upstairs. But lots of stuff outside, expanding the veg garden, doing all of the kind of keeping on top of the maintenance, keeping the grass in check, pruning the trees where possible. We are going to be doing a move of the solar. Eventually we're going to build a structure here for that, but I don't think that's going to be this year, maybe right at the end of the year. Lots more harvests, lots more making of various kinds of wines and ciders, and what else? The raised bed area. So lots of things to look forward to in terms of the big projects, but of course there's all the small things as well. So like, what are we doing with all the oranges? What are we doing with the rose hips? What are we doing about planting potatoes, and what are the experiments and all that kind of stuff? So whilst there are some big projects and lots of big projects to come, we are going to try and zoom in on some of the smaller things as well. Maybe we'll have some short videos that kind of just focus on one or two things, but of course we've got lots of building and restoring and renovating and all that kind of stuff as well. So if that's your kind of thing, then do stick around. I think next week we're doing potatoes. We've done them already, but that's next week's video. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you then. Bye for now.